Hi everyone, I'm coming to you from my basement bar in Old Greenwich. I have my cocktail and I'm ready to welcome you to what is truly historic and we hope one of a kind. This is the 2020 Greenwich Pitch Your Peers virtual pitch night. This evening you will see 4 incredible pitches that I'm sure you've all heard about already on social media and through our emails. Please note that this recording, while it will appear to be live, is in fact all pre-recorded. You will have the ability to pause and of course go back and view this at any time during our voting period. Couple of housekeeping things to mention. We do have $72,000 to give away this year. $45,000 will go to the first prize, $20,000 to the second. The third prize will be $5,000 or $6,000, depending on who comes in fourth. Remember, everybody who pitches, at least their $1,000 does go to the charity of their choice. So, now that we know how much our teams are competing for in terms of the amounts of the grants, there's some key dates to know. So today, November 17th, is our pitch night. It also commences our discovery period, which is a time for the teams to follow up with our membership, set up any maybe Zoom information sessions with executive directors, outdoor tours where appropriate, anything that's COVID safe, in order for us to get to know more if we have more questions beyond pitch night. Our discovery period will last until December 1st, at which point our voting period will commence. The link will be sent out via email. Our voting is anonymous and you may only vote once. So you can take your time over the course of 10 days to make this decision. And of course you have the discovery period, and pitch night itself will be emailed to you that you can watch at your leisure as many times as you like. So, housekeeping's out of the way. You know you guys will be receiving an email with much more information, so you didn't have to write any of that down. I would like to first just take a moment to thank all of you again for tuning in and bearing witness to the work that these incredible grant champions have done. I have the honor and privilege of being able to introduce our first team, which is Team PAX 1, Taruna Reddy and Monica Wang. I am thrilled to see Monica pitching again. She was one of our very first grant champions in 2016. And I am also excited to see my friend Taruna pitching. Our daughters, in fact, went to preschool together, and I got to know Alia, and you'll hear more about her story coming up in our first pitch.
Rare diseases are actually not that rare.
Rare disease in the U.S. is defined as 200,000 or less affected individuals identified.
There are about 7,000 rare diseases that are identified. If you put that in aggregate, that's 400 million people around the world that suffer from rare diseases. That's more than cancer and AIDS combined. 80% of rare diseases are caused by a genetic defect. Only 5% of those are actually treated with an FDA-approved drug.
Most of the rare diseases become manifest in children, in childhood. So this is really first a children's program.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, clap!
I think Alia's happiest moments are when she hangs out with her family. She's been through zillions of hours of therapy and hundreds of doctor's appointments and I want to say 18 EEGs since she was born, and you see her, she's smiling, she's happy. She is an incredibly happy child in spite of everything she's been through. When Ollie was born, everything was normal. There was no reason to think that, she had atypical characteristics in any way. It was a happy, incredible, uplifting, moment to have her come into the world, and she was born with this incredible head of hair. When she was about 3 or 4 weeks old, I noticed some really strange movements, and my instinct told me that something was wrong, that this wasn't just weird baby movements, that there was something really bad going on. She started having clusters of seizures, uncontrolled, one after another. Every 15 minutes she was having one. So we rushed to the emergency room in Cornell where they admitted us. They did some genetic testing, but they didn't find any results. I had hoped that it would be a condition that she would potentially grow out of. She wasn't meeting any milestones. She smiled late, she sat late, she crawled late. She walked late, and all of this was with significant physical therapy.
So that becomes really difficult because you are sitting in a situation where you have a 2-year-old that has significant issues and no one's able to tell you, what the problem is.
We continued, to pursue and push for more genetic testing. We moved from Cornell to Columbia, and they agreed to run a full exome sequencing test on Alia, which tests for 20,000 important genes. Alia happened to be at Columbia for an overnight EEG. The geneticist came into the room and gave me a piece of paper which says she has PAX1 syndrome, there's no cure or treatments, go home and do your best to manage the symptoms.
Taking the opinion that there is nothing that can be done, I thought it was not something that I was going to be okay with.
Children with PAX1 all carry an identical mutation in the PAX1 gene that causes a single amino acid substitution in the PAX1 protein, and that single amino acid substitution has dire consequences for neuronal development.
I'm gonna help you a little bit, okay?
So these kids tend to suffer from significant intellectual disability. They have severe speech and motor delays. They have various degrees of epilepsy, autistic features. They have trouble feeding and in fact need lifelong care.
Everything is challenging for Alia. She has the intellectual ability of a 1-year-old.
Where it's difficult, I think, is when I see her wanting to do something. I want to run like these other kids, and I can't run like these other kids. That, I think, is difficult for me to accept, at least without trying to do something about it. But as long as she can be, happy, that's what matters to me.
Currently, there are about 100 kids that have been diagnosed. The diagnosis is a genetic test, and as the genetic test becomes more widely used in hospitals and clinics around the world, we think the number will increase.
What I'm looking for in clinic is how they're doing relative to how they've done in the past. So we're looking at seizure control, how we can optimize seizure control and balance that with side effects of medications. I'm looking at how they're doing developmentally. Are there other things that we can do to support them?
Give them a high five.
High five, good girl.
My father had been at the forefront of genetic research for most of his career, and so that obviously was something that we thought we could use in potentially trying to find a way to help Alia.
I was fortunate because of my trade, so to speak, that I knew some of the very relevant scientists in this field.
By following these leads, we were able to sort of slowly build a team of outstanding scientists.
Well, the scientific team that we've assembled is just remarkable.
We've been studying PAX1 syndrome here at University of Pittsburgh for about 2 years. And the striking thing is that as severe as the trafficking defect is that we see, it's reversible. And so we think that holds great promise for mouse models and for patient therapy in the future. The model that we use for PAX1 syndrome can be readily applied to other diseases, other neurological disorders.
Rare disease funding is in its very initial stages.
The PAX1 Foundation has been a Kickstarter for studying this disorder. This is a disorder that probably would have been relegated off to the sidelines for years.
Put orange bear.
Very little was known about it even 2 years ago. And in the short space of 2 years, we've advanced that information significantly. The NIH funding really requires preliminary data. They require many times a publication. And they want to see that, in fact, their investment has a great chance for success.
I think with the revolution in science and in genetics, with the ability to find all these rare diseases, the funding necessarily hasn't kept up. The NIH and the big pharmaceutical companies, their channels still haven't opened up to rare disease funding.
That's the challenge, not just for PAX1, but for all those rare diseases. Foundations are crucial, and I think in general, they are doing a very incredible job.
I think what that is missing is the broader point of the entire cost in society of having 10% of the population having some sort of rare disease, lifelong treatments, finding ways to treat and help those rare diseases actually should be very positive economically.
The progress that has been made in genetics, in the molecular aspects of genetics over the last 5 years, let us say 10 years, is just incredible.
If you're happy and you know it, say hooray. Hooray!
The availability of genetic testing has also improved, such that families are more often receiving a diagnosis and more often receiving it earlier.
The advances that have been made in biomedical research and drug discovery I think really require us to go back and reinvestigate some of these rare diseases that have been forgotten or neglected.
For the longest time, if you were diagnosed with a rare disease, you were doomed, that's it. You know, try to deal with it.
We all have a chance today to be part of this revolution.
I think the tremendous opportunity nowadays is that the science is there.
There are 175 million children with rare diseases worldwide. Alia happens to be one of them. She is my child. This could be anybody's child. We know PAX1 is easier to cure. Let's cure it. Let's get funding, advocacy, and press to the rare disease arena so we can cure as many of these diseases as we can. We need to have less parents sitting around waiting for miracles.
Hi, I'm Taruna Reddy. I'm a Pitch Your Peers member and the president of the PAX1 Research Foundation. As you heard in the video, my 6-year-old daughter Alia has PAX1 disease, and we started the foundation 3 years ago to fund scientific research towards a cure. We feel very fortunate to have a scientific advisory board that has 4 world-renowned scientists from Yale, Rockefeller, and the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. And they are all telling us that right now, the science looks very promising, because the research shows that PAX1 is a disease that is reversible. And what does that mean, reversible? This means that a treatment will restore these sick children towards normalcy. We are also very fortunate to be at a point in time where recent progress in science makes a cure a real possibility. The cutting-edge technology to use automated drug screens to repurpose existing drugs for treatment has now become available. Finding drugs that are already approved by the FDA as treatment candidates is astronomically more efficient for treatments, both in terms of the time frame and cost, versus trying to develop a new drug from scratch. The PAX1 Foundation will use the first prize grant of $45,000 from Pitch Your Peers, along with $11,000 matching donation, to immediately fund in full one of the first repurposing projects at the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard. We believe that this project will be successful in providing treatments for these severely handicapped PAX1 children, and even more importantly, serve as a prototype that can be used for the treatment and cure of many, many other rare diseases. This Pitch Your Peers grant will be transformative. It will bring us a lot closer to a treatment for PAX1 and many other rare diseases, bringing a much needed win to medical science and the entire rare disease community. Thank you for considering the PAX1 Foundation for Pitch Your Peers.
I'm Monica Wong, and I've been with Pitch Your Peers since the inception. This is an incredible organization that gives women an opportunity to learn about foundations and nonprofits that you would otherwise never hear about. The PAX1 Foundation is an excellent example. What may seem like an esoteric disease that has nothing to do with you or me is actually not the case. The PIPE donation will not only potentially find a cure for PAX1, but will make a bigger difference in the rare disease universe. Just to back up, when I first met Taruna, when her son and my daughter were together in preschool, I admired Taruna's ability to balance her son's needs with her daughter's very different needs. Taruna has always been upfront. If a treatment is not found, Alia will continue to have severe speech delays, significant motor delays, epilepsy, and will require lifelong care, which, of course, Taruna and Nicholas are prepared for. Here's the interesting thing. This is a disease that actually has a very high possibility for a cure because all the patients have the same exact genetic mutation. As you've heard, with this grant, there is a real possibility for a cure. You've heard the scientists. Finding treatments for diseases like PAX1 will have a cascading effect, increased press, advocacy, and funding towards cures for many other rare diseases. According to the New York Times, There are 7,000 rare or orphan diseases defined in the US as an illness that affects fewer than 200,000 people nationwide. With more such diseases being identified every day, 95% of them have no known therapies. They are overlooked by most scientists, and some illnesses may be untreatable even if they are understood. So just to quantify, 1 in 10 people have a rare disease, and that number is growing every day. At some point, all of us will know someone we care about who is diagnosed with a rare disease. To put it broadly, 200 million children worldwide suffer from rare diseases. Only 5% of them have any kind of treatments. So this is our opportunity to make an impact and give those with little hope an opportunity for a cure. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am thrilled to introduce 3 amazing women pitching a cause that is near and dear to my heart. I cannot wait for Courtney Murphy, Gia Burton, and Carrie Murphy to tell us all why Girls with Impact is such a worthy cause and why winning this grant right now is so important to furthering their mission of creating the first generation of women who will lead from the top with their online entrepreneurship program made just for girls. Good luck, Courtney, Gia, and Carrie. I know you will crush it.
Hello, I'm Gia Burton, and we're here to pitch the Greenwich nonprofit Girls with Impact. I've been a Pitch Your Peers member since inception in 2016, but not until now have I found an organization that I felt connected enough to pitch. My current passion and work lies in education and curriculum enrichment programming. Courtney and I run curriculum enrichment at the Old Greenwich School. When I first heard of Girls with Impact, I thought, what an incredible future opportunity for my daughter Charlie, her peers, or any daughter of the many PIPE members with us tonight. In our work to introduce quality enrichment programming to our public school, we are fortunate to be supported by a substantial and primarily parent-funded budget. But when we come together as a district, we see firsthand that opportunities are not always equitable. PIPE members will ensure our daughters have ample access to opportunities like Girls with Impact that will prepare them to thrive and lead in the future. Particularly eager and excited for the possibility of extending that support to girls who may not otherwise have exposure or access. Girls with Impact has the power to shift and expand the mindset of young women, to open them up to what's possible, offer essential tools, and instill the confidence necessary to get there. I want to see this group of intelligent and committed Pitch Your Peers women promote the development of another group of like-minded young women who would otherwise not have access to this opportunity.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carrie Murphy. I was delighted when Courtney brought this opportunity to my attention. I'm currently in the workforce as an executive vice president at a healthcare marketing company, and I've been fortunate to have great success over the years and attribute that to the mentorship I've received. Surrounding yourself with a group of strong, intelligent women is what initially drew me to PIPE. The first year I joined, I had the opportunity to attend the school Pitch Your Peer meeting, and I'll never forget it. I was in awe of these high school girls pitching to a group of successful women around a boardroom and speaking so eloquently about their charity. Pitching is something I do on a frequent basis for my job, and I still get nervous. It truly was an amazing experience to see these high school girls' confidence. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if even more teens had access to an experience like this? This is what drew me to Girls with Impact. I'm thrilled to present with Gia and Courtney by my side.
Hi, I'm Courtney Murphy. Last fall, I attended a local breakfast event hosted by Girls with Impact and was immediately struck by the power of the model and the impactful ventures shared by program graduates. In a room of more than 100 business leaders, high school girls spoke with confidence and poise. Girls with Impact addresses many of the challenges I hear leaders in corporate social responsibility talking about every day, such as cultivating a diverse talent pipeline, the need for mentoring, and the intersection of business and social good. As a female professional, I've experienced all too common self-doubts and absorbed limiting external messages, whether that be about leaning in or leaning out, about my ability to make a tangible impact, or the mastery of hard skills in business. As a mother of 2 strong-willed, independent young girls, I have the worry in the back of my head about when their confident voices may become more timid. Girls with Impact helps teenage girls to fail fast and aim high, and I couldn't be more excited to share this pitch with you.
So let me tell you why I'm so passionate about Girls with Impact and why they deserve the grant. Even amid COVID, we can equip the next generation in the process, impact our economy, and equity in the workplace. I'm sure you'll all agree it's shocking that in 2020, we still just have 5% of female CEOs, that only 2% of the 80 billion in venture funding goes to women founders. Women still only earn 78 cents less for every dollar earned by men, and that confidence still holds women back. Entrepreneurship takes those girls interested in STEM or any other field and advances their career. As you'll see, Melinda Gates said it all. When we invest in women and girls, we are investing in the people who invest in everyone else. By supporting Girls with Impact, we have an opportunity to not only turn this around, but create a pathway for women to the top. COVID has certainly impacted us all. At my company, we were obviously worried about keeping the lights on, but we were very much still worried about everyone's welfare, especially the younger generation that had just started at the company. We put even more emphasis on mentorship, online resources, and virtual social interaction. With COVID, women risk falling even further behind. There's obviously the financial vulnerabilities, especially those who were already struggling before the pandemic. Students are experiencing higher depression, stress, and anxiety, which all of us can certainly relate to. But it's so hard as a mother to see the impact that this pandemic has placed on our kids and students, especially considering how vulnerable they already are in today's society, especially females. How do we break through the stigma and barriers? That's what Girls with Impact do. And that's what the girls with programs that go through the program experience. There's nothing more impactful than hearing from these girls. Let's just do that now. We're going to hear from Kelly, Jody, and Santine.
If you're a smart and intelligent girl and you're focused and you know what you want to become in life, there's stigmas and we put labels on you that you're bossy, you're selfish, you're a girl, a female. Do you really think you're gonna dominate this industry?
I mean, I was told that I was too involved, that I was bossy, that I was controlling. I've been told you're too loud or sassy. They told me I should be more supportive,
Obedient,
gentle, passive,
quiet.
I felt like I couldn't be who I actually wanted to be, and all of my motivation to be who I truly was completely diminished.
Breaking down barriers and making sure girls like Kelly, Jody, and Santine succeed is really the ultimate goal. We know that digital is a fast-paced world and has already penetrated our society. With COVID, digital learning is even more important. We need to make sure that our students don't fall behind in this digital world, especially with the competition they face and that the fact that their goals are already so ambitious. Gia will speak to how Girls with Impact was able to offer an immediate answer to the learning solution. What is truly amazing is the determination of this generation. What strikes me is the fact that 60% of Gen Z, which is slated to outnumber millennials, wants to personally create something world-changing. I'm going to turn it over to Gia, who will give us an overview of Girls with Impact.
So what is Girls with Impact? This nonprofit is the nation's only live, online mini MBA program just for girls in grades 7 through 12, equipping teenagers to be tomorrow's business leaders. Girls with Impact uses an impact-driven entrepreneurship training model to equip girls with the skills, confidence, and tools to investigate, ideate, innovate, and ignite a venture that takes her passion and turns it into an impactful business or nonprofit. In just the last few months, their COVID relief efforts filled a huge gap, training 2,500 girls to launch businesses or nonprofits, impact their college and career success, advance our communities and economies with solutions and innovations, and to bridge the racial and geographic divide with an impressive 60% girls of color participating in the program. The power of Girls with Impact solution lies in its live online delivery, meeting girls where they are. This extracurricular program platform couldn't have been more timely with COVID. Since inception, it's been online, connecting girls with program instructors from various locations and with one another. Teenage girls go through a 10-week entrepreneurship academy designed with Harvard Business School leaders and led by expert coaches. During the program, each girl receives 35 hours of learning time with live classes and bring-back activities. Offered year-round, every quarter, the academy is taught by MBAs and guides students to develop a venture idea, create an actionable business plan, and pitch their business or nonprofit. Once they graduate, they have the option of entering the boardroom where they're matched with mentors and continue their learning and venture development. To give you a peek inside the curriculum itself, it's focused on teaching real business MBA fundamentals that most of us didn't learn until college or until we were actually in the office. Girls start with their passion or skills to develop a venture idea. From there, they begin to innovate around that idea, creating real customer profiles, developing a unique value proposition through SWOT analysis, building a budget, profit and loss statement, and more. They graduate with 3 key deliverables that give them a huge leg up: a 1-page business plan, a prototype or sample of their venture, and a real pitch presentation. Girls with Impact has served girls across the US, focusing on low to moderate income, middle and high school girls, because this is when they need it most. Participants come from diverse backgrounds, and 75% of the girls have received financial support. Here are a few examples of girls. Kristen St. Louis, who had a passion for reading but didn't feel authors looked like her, so she created Mirror Me Diversity, a book sharing platform. Jody Bell from Greenwich High, raised by a single mother, had a passion for policy. She launched In Case of Deportation, a digital guide that aims to help young people prepare for the possible deportation of their parents. For this, she made international news. When she applied for college, the program led her to a $20,000 scholarship and made going to college within her financial reach. Naya combined her passion for STEM with entrepreneurship to code a COVID solution, a wearable sensor device that alerts you when you've crossed the 6 feet safety zone. In fact, 40% of Girls with Impact ventures are STEM related. These ventures address some of the biggest issues of our time, from mental health to diversity to sustainability to technology. In addition to the tangible ventures, Girls with Impact participants experience huge improvements in areas that have long been barriers to women's progress: confidence as leaders, tech skills, public speaking, college readiness, financial literacy or money skills and savings. Interestingly, more than half of girls are more likely to now go into business or entrepreneurship, and the program has led to a huge impact on college scholarships. Let's take a closer look at what the girls have to say about the benefits of Girls with Impact.
I wouldn't be here today without the group of strong women that helped me, that guided me, that mentored me. There's room for everyone. If there's room for men, there's room for women. I had actual people that work for businesses shocked that I knew half of the stuff that I know through Girls with Impact.
I'm showing the world that I can do what I put my mind to.
I am powerful.
I am powerful. I'm powerful because I've achieved what I've been wanting to do. I can make an impact. I can make an impact.
I can make an impact.
Girls with Impact was founded in Greenwich by a Greenwich mother, Silicon Valley entrepreneur, Dow Jones columnist, and former CMO of Mercer's global When Women Thrive platform, Jennifer Openshaw. Greenwich leaders played a direct role in its creation, and many continue to serve on its board. For example, Judy Nadell, guidance coordinator for Greenwich Public Schools, said, "There's no other program that has the impact of Girls with Impact. A number of our students have gone through it, and it's had a huge impact on their confidence, scholarships, and college applications." While incubated in Greenwich and the tri-state area, Girls with Impact has grown to serve girls across the United States, focusing on low to moderate income, middle and high school girls. The program started as a pilot in 2017 and served nearly 300 girls in its first 2 years. From 2018 to 19, 700 teenage girls went through the 10-week entrepreneurship academy led by expert coaches. With the COVID pandemic, having tested the program in New York and Connecticut, Girls with Impact was able to step in and roll out nationally as schools struggled to shift to online. Girls with Impact made the program free last spring during the pandemic, and demand exploded, serving more than 2,500 girls and receiving national media attention. In order to reach the girls who will benefit most, Girls with Impact partners with hundreds of schools and local organizations, including many serving the community right here in Greenwich. such as the Fairfield County Community Foundation, Governor's Office, and youth-focused community organizations like the Junior League of Greenwich, but it has so much more room to grow. Girls with Impact's business program, valued at $2,000, is delivered cost efficiently due to its proven model and leverage of a tech-enabled virtual format. The full PIPE grant will underwrite 100 girls for the Entrepreneurship Academy, with priority to girls in Greenwich with financial need. In our public schools, 20% of students are eligible for free and reduced lunch, according to the most recent United Way of Greenwich needs assessment. The full cost for 100 young women to go through the program is $51,683, 83% of which will be used for program delivery and 17% for outreach and recruitment. Girls with Impact has secured matching funding from a donor for the costs in excess of the PIPE grant in order to fully fund 100 girls. With many students in need of accessible and affordable educational programming, PIPE will be ensuring that girls in Greenwich, regardless of income, have access to this opportunity and will be sharing that gift of personal and financial empowerment with girls across the nation. We are asking you to get behind the nation's only modern business training ground for the next generation of women leaders, founded right here in Greenwich. PIPE can directly impact Girls with Impact's expansion at a critical time. Our funds will have a multiplier effect. First, on the girls, impacting her career and college success, bringing financial relief and opportunities for self-sufficiency, her ability to impact her community, drive innovation, and be an ambassador as other girls are recruited. Second, PIPE and Greenwich benefit by being home to an innovative organization with a national reach. They're creating jobs here, impacting our schools and employers. Finally, Girls with Impact is creating a real opportunity for us to have an impact on equity in the workforce, bringing more women to the top, driving innovation, improving policies, and addressing issues long overdue. As Carrie mentioned, Gen Z is driven by purpose and world change. Girls like Jody, who created In Case of Deportation, are determined to create a better world. We'll now hear from CEO and founder Jennifer Openshaw, who we thank for her tireless leadership.
Girls with Impact has trained thousands of girls like Jody, each with their own unique backgrounds and experiences. But they share one driving dream: to imagine a better world. There's no more critical time than right now. We need your support and your vote to harness the moment and launch these girls into that world.
We want to thank you for your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you so much. We really truly feel like the time is now to propel the next generation.
And to help this Greenwich-based nonprofit to scale more equitably at a critical moment. Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
We are Vicki and Cheryl, and we are here as PIPE 2020 board members this year. We are launching community outreach initiatives, and we are thrilled to bring to you this year Supply the Demand, which is a new program that promises to keep our finger on the pulse of what is needed locally so we can provide essential needs to our community. Our goals are to educate, participate, and of course to offer programs where we can get our little pipers involved with us. So be on the lookout for more information to come. And here's Cheryl with information on introducing the next pitch.
Hi, I'm happy to introduce Ulrika Drinkle to you all. I met her shortly after moving to Old Greenwich, and like us, she is superlative in nature. She is kind, she is caring, she's intelligent, and she is energetic. She is also motivated. She has the added purpose of securing a proper education for her child with special needs. She has navigated the monstrous and intimidating education system. Ulrika partnered with Christina Lai to create and conceive of SELF, Special Education Legal Fund.
We'll read these stories, and one is usually just more heartbreaking than the next. What'd you think, Will?
Yeah. We found out that William had Down syndrome when I was 18 or 19 weeks pregnant, which hit me, like completely threw me off. And around 20 weeks, I found out he had a hole in the heart. And then at 7 weeks old, he went into heart failure. We started really having the bladder issues. It's been an ongoing thing really, probably the last 6 years.
I'm too fast. Oh, you're too fast for us.
Preschool was wonderful, and then we stayed on at the same school for kindergarten, and that's really where everything went wrong. There was artwork on the wall of all the children, except for William, and I said, well, you know, where's Will's work? And the teacher said, oh, well, we were drawing houses and he couldn't do it. So that's kind of how kindergarten went. He's nonverbal. This is my biggest fear, my biggest worry with William, because he is nonverbal.
SELF was the organization that made the recommendations for the advocate. She knows all the players in the district. She knows all the players at the state. The grant financially has just meant one other thing that we don't have to worry about. The advocates, lawyers, those services aren't in your average household budget.
She's been brilliant. You know, obviously she looked at Will's IUP and right off the bat was like, this is terrible. And she said, right, we're going to write a letter to the state. She told us exactly what we needed to do, what we needed to write. She has the knowledge that I don't have, and it would have taken me a lot longer, and I probably may have even given up, to be honest. I get very emotional. You know, I will go into meetings and I will sit there and I'll end up crying because that's my child, and I get very, very upset about it. It's been amazing having her, and I feel confident now moving forward with what I know that William deserves.
Some children literally cannot digitally learn.
For families with kids who have special needs, this is terrible, like disastrous, catastrophic.
Whatever he could do, he would press the computer and turn it off, or whatever he could do so he didn't have to be on a screen. He basically did. It was very, very challenging. He wanted nothing to do with it.
So you gave up?
So I gave up.
The parent cannot be the teacher. The parent cannot be the special education instructor. The parent cannot be a paraprofessional. The parent is not a therapist. So for a child with special education needs, it's really almost impossible to learn in that kind of setting. The gaps that have developed because of the school closure, because of remote learning, distance learning, whatever you want to call it, those are greater and deeper for children in special education, and they are much, much, much more difficult to rectify. This is a program designed to provide really a groundbreaking special education, civics education, and communication curriculum for families that speak English as a second language. It's free.
Sometimes with the ESL, you may have a socioeconomic issue. You can have cultural issues.
A room full of families who all have something in common. They're here because they care about their child, and their child is not getting what he or she deserves.
The community aspect of Proyecto, the hand-holding, the sharing, is even more important than the information we're giving these parents.
We've since expanded the program to include several other languages, including Arabic, French, Portuguese, Creole, Mandarin Chinese. Because it's online, it is accessible in a much, much greater format, than that. And we've been able to reach families all over the state of Connecticut, outside of Fairfield County, in New York and beyond. And that has been really a tremendous opportunity that we're grateful for.
I think the best thing about SELF is that it does exactly what the mission says in a real way. It levels the playing field. It's a very real way to help people.
To see the need and to be able to catch some of these families that have been slipping through the cracks.
Just as simple as going with a mom to a meeting and translating and holding their hands. And a lot of the parents I work with are single moms.
I've worked with some of the clients, and we've been fortunate to have some amazing results. In that, giving the family a voice is key. We speak the same language, we just use different words.
You push, you advocate, you never give up, you never believe that there's a limit to their potential. But at the end of the day, helping them be happy is what success is.
My name is Ulrika Drinkel. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story and the story of Special Education Legal Fund. I have a few slides I would like to share with you today. This is my passion, and I can talk about self all day long. I'm not an attorney or an advocate or a teacher. I'm a mother of a child with special needs. My son Gabriel was diagnosed with global developmental delay about 10 years ago. I know personally how hard it is to advocate for your child, especially in regards to special education. It takes everything you got and then some. Because of my experience with Gabriel, Christine Lai and I founded Special Education Legal Fund, SELF, to help those families who fall through the cracks in the special education system. I'm here today to share the story of those children whose needs are not being met right here in our backyard. The COVID crisis actually exposed some gaps in the education system, Greenwich included. It was a hard time for all of us. I think you all can agree to that. But those gaps are broader and deeper and less easily overcome for children in the special education system, especially if they come from economically challenged backgrounds. Some of these children have experienced delay, denial, and regression, and without help, these gaps can become permanent. In Greenwich, COVID had a troubling impact on families with students in the special education system. According to a survey conducted by the Greenwich Public Schools, almost 50% of the students in special education did not go to school during the closure. Think about that, 50% of the students did not go to school at all. It was difficult for Gabriel, it was difficult for me. I mean, I had to be his OT, his PT, and his special ed teacher. And I can agree with you and tell you, it was not easy. I actually heard from a family right here in Greenwich who didn't hear from their school at all for the first 2 months of the closure. And this is a family who has 2 children on the spectrum who are both nonverbal. For SELF, I've seen this firsthand translate into a huge increase in demand for grants, 140% in October. And the 2 months since school opened again, it's been the busiest in SELF's history. SELF provides knowledge and encourages empowerment for families in the special education system. It also provides support to other agencies to help them serve families with special education needs. However, because the legal assistance program is the core of what SELF does, that's what I want to focus on today. That's what I'm pitching for today. So who are the SELF families and what are they looking for? Most of the families are from Fairfield County. 40% of them fall below the poverty line and 40% speak English as a second language, just like I do. 2/3 of them are usually single parent home. Some families have children who have experienced really difficult times at schools, like seclusions and restraining, things you did not think exist in this country today. But the vast majority of these families simply want an appropriate implementation of their existing special education plans. These children have the right to their special education, just like any ALP student does. ALP is also a form of special education. We just don't like to think about it that way. And who are the SELF students? SELF students come with many different backgrounds and diagnoses, but almost 40% fall under the autism spectrum and ADHD and ADD, which I think most of us can relate to. In the last 2 years, SELF have made over $275,000 in grants to families. Those grants have resulted in an educational improvement of over $2.2 million. Think about that, $2.2 million. This means basically that for every $1 you have invested in the legal assistance program, that has produced $8 in educational improvements for families. Those improvements are specific to the child, but also helps the whole family. It's quite an amazing outcome, I have to say. I'm proud of that. These are the words that SELF has received from parents. They're truly heartbreaking to read. When I read these, I know that what we're doing actually makes a difference. This makes me really proud. And here's another one. They go straight to your heart. I have to tell you that. These grants that we have given have allowed children to escape environments that they have not been supported for them. Environments where they have been bullied and where their educational needs have not been met. I'm pitching today for SELF to receive the grand prize of $45,000. These funds would enable the legal assistance program to grow by 30%. This would be an incredibly significant expansion and concentrated on Greenwich's most needy families. SELF is a small nonprofit. I personally know that this money would change the SELF's trajectory and the life of the SELF students and families. SELF cannot solve all the problems in the education system. What SELF can do, and what SELF has done, is change the life of children who need it the most. Because of Gabriel, I understand how hard this can be. I understand how hard it is to navigate the school system for your special needs child. I've done it many times. And that's why I created SELF, and that is why I need you to support SELF today. I want you to help all of those who can't do it alone. Thank you again for this opportunity, for your time, and for your understanding. I'm so grateful that I had this chance to introduce SELF to you, and I hope you know a little bit better about it today. I personally know that I can't change the world for everyone, but I do know that I can change the world for someone, and so can you. And this is when I choke up. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you, PYP, for giving me this opportunity.
Hi everybody, I'm Nancy Carr, and I am thrilled to welcome you to Pitch Night 2020 for Pipe Greenwich. I am a brand new Pipe Greenwich board member, and I am really looking forward to learning from and working with all of you, and hopefully meeting you very, very soon. But enough about me, let's get back to pitching. The next two grant champions are likely women that you already know. When I asked them to tell me a little about themselves, the first thing they both told me is that they're moms. Mandy Felice is a mom of 3 from Old Greenwich, and Emily Goodman is a mom of 2 in Riverside with 2 dogs as well. Both are lawyers, both are incredibly bright, successful professionals who are here to tell you about the important domestic abuse services provided by YWCA Greenwich and why funding is so critical right now. So take it away, ladies.
Hi, I'm Emily Goodman. I'm a Riverside mom of 2 kids. I'm a lawyer and I'm a Greenwich community advocate. I love our town, and I'm so grateful every day for the supportive services and friends around me.
Hi, my name is Mandy Felice. I'm a mom of 3 and I live in Old Greenwich, Connecticut. I'm also a lawyer, and before I started Inkwell, I worked in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in the Sex Crimes Unit. After that, I ran the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force for the City of New York under Mayor Bloomberg, and then later ran a nonprofit that focused on forced marriage and honor violence in the United States. But after moving to Greenwich with my family, I looked for an organization that I could support where I could use some of my old skills from my old life. I found the Greenwich YWCA and am currently serving on their board. I have been super impressed by the work that the YW does to support local families. One of my first mom friends from New York City, after she moved to Greenwich, used the emergency domestic violence services offered by the YW. I only found out years later. Unfortunately, there are so many in our community that need the Y's help. I'm honored to be a part of this pitch tonight. Thank you so much for listening.
Domestic violence is the #1 reported violent crime in Greenwich. #1. Domestic violence is an epidemic, and it's in our community. The unfortunate reality is someone in our Pitch Your Peers group, someone in this virtual room, is a victim of domestic abuse. Someone in our group is suffering right now and needs or is currently using the WISE services. We are pitching today because we want to help anyone who needs it. Let everyone know how the YWCA can help and how much each of us can do to help the YWCA's efforts to address this insidious and painful issue in our community. We could pitch the WISE services any year. There's a constant need. However, right now we have an epidemic within a pandemic. Since our world has been gripped by the coronavirus, domestic abuse has acted like an opportunistic infection, flourishing in the conditions created by the pandemic. The coronavirus has created new tensions in people's homes. Staying at home has worsened abusive situations. We have an urgent need to act to combat the surge in domestic violence. A lot of people misunderstand and find it difficult to even comprehend domestic abuse. Domestic abuse is a pattern of controlling behavior in a relationship. This behavior can manifest in abuse that's verbal, emotional, physical, and financial. It's important to recognize that domestic abuse is not always physical. Abusers use intimidation, degradation, punishment, and threats, all forms of coercive control. All of these controlling and violent acts and patterns constitute domestic abuse, which deprive the victim of their physical security, independence, and dignity. More than 1 in 4 women experience domestic violence in their lifetime. We have 69 members of our group. There are members of our group who are right now struggling in an abusive relationship or have or will at some point in their lives. Let's now take a look at what the YWCA of Greenwich does to help. First, we'll hear from Mary Lee Kernan, President and CEO, and then Meredith Gold, Director of Domestic Abuse Services.
Since 1981, YWCA Greenwich has been serving women, men, and children who are victims of domestic violence. And last year alone, we received 5,300 calls to our hotline and for crisis reasons from victims who needed our help. That's up from 3,700 the year before, and we know this increase is due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Victims were quarantining with their abusers and calling us from closets, from cars, or whenever their abusers might go out, and we were there to support them and their children.
While October is the dedicated month when we bring laser focus to the issue of domestic violence, our team here at the YW works hard all year long to deliver life-saving services to those who are in need. And we continually strive to raise awareness and bring attention to the epidemic of domestic abuse. But this year was different, and what you're about to see for tonight's program is different too. When the pandemic hit, our team had to get creative to quickly adapt and ensure that we could still be there for our clients in every way. Victims who had been coming into the YW for counseling during their lunch break were now working from home with no way to safely leave the house for support. With abusers and children also home all the time, survivors had to find the moments whenever they could to call our hotline, from the car, while walking the dog, even in the middle of the night.
You can see from this slide that the YWCA of Greenwich provides an incredible range of services, all of which are provided for free and on a confidential basis. No person is turned away from the Y. This is an incredible commitment to the Greenwich community and one which requires tremendous resources. The Pitch Your Peers grant money will help to maintain and grow these critical services. One of the Y's most important services is their 24/7 hotline. Counselors are available 24/7 for crisis advocacy with law enforcement and other providers, or for general support and information. There were over 5,000 calls to the hotline in this past year. It's an incredible lifeline for victims. Being available 24/7 is very meaningful to a victim who is struggling to find a safe time and place to call. Another critical life-saving service that the Y provides is emergency shelter. One of the most dangerous times for a victim is when she leaves her abuser. Leaving an abusive relationship is incredibly difficult for so many reasons. The Y provides emergency shelter either locally or out of state to victims and their children and pets. The location of the shelter is kept confidential for safety. Again, these services are provided at no cost and no one is turned away. While at the shelter, individuals can also receive legal assistance. These legal services are generally available to any victims who come to the Y needing help to navigate the criminal and family court processes, which unfortunately are extremely intimidating and confusing. The Y's legal services are an incredible lifeline to victims. They will even accompany and speak on behalf of a victim in court, as that can often be an intimidating and traumatic experience. The Y also does a tremendous amount of outreach in Greenwich, including in our schools. This benefits the community greatly by creating more avenues that the Y may reach victims who need help, and also benefits our children who learn about healthy relationships from the Y staff. The Y's prevention staff works with organizations in the community to help identify and help those who they think are victims. They provide training for hairstylists, attorneys, doctors, offices, and other service providers that are well positioned to identify potential victims. The Y works closely with the Greenwich Police Department on specific cases and also regularly helps officers process situations they have encountered and helps them to identify and understand signs of domestic abuse. One of the more recent initiatives is called the Privy Project, where the Y facilitated the posting of this sign throughout the community and asked businesses and organizations to post signs on the inside of ladies' bathroom stalls. I have personally asked my gynecologist to post the sign. When the pandemic hit and no one was inside of businesses, the Y quickly shifted to ensure that people who were in need knew that the Y was still there. The Y created stickers and worked with our curies, who graciously put the stickers with the hotline number on the 1,800 pizzas they sell each week. It was a great success, and the Y would like to work with other restaurants who have big takeout businesses. But the volume and cost of the stickers is significant. For example, doing only pizza and only at our curies would be $15,000 a year. I'd like to quickly share some data from the Y to show how many individuals from our community are using the Y's domestic abuse services. There are a lot of numbers on this page, which I will leave you to review and digest when you have more time. But I do want to highlight the numbers at the bottom of the page, which show the month-over-month increase in services in light of the coronavirus. The Y also provides free counseling to victims, either on a one-on-one basis or in a group setting. Counseling is a critical service to help victims, but one that is out of reach of so many because of the cost and the challenge of finding a provider who has the right expertise. Walking into the Y for counseling immediately immerses you in a supportive, understanding, and empathetic environment. The support for victims is immeasurable, and it's ongoing, even after the victim is out of the relationship and is on her way to becoming a survivor of domestic abuse. We'd like to share words and stories from women from the support groups at the Y and who have used the other Y services. These women live or have lived in Greenwich, have kids in the Greenwich schools, and are among us every day. These stories have been shared for us personally for this pitch. I was in a lonely, scary, dark place when a friend gave me the number for the YWCA hotline. That one phone call was the light, the relief and the sanity I so badly needed. Just the voice of someone who understood what I was going through and could help make sense of the situation took a huge weight off of me. The YWCA Domestic Violence Services became my oasis. I have incredible counseling and a group of amazing women who are still helping me heal. The mental health, legal, and financial support and the help from my children is nothing short of incredible. I will forever be so grateful. I'm a Riverside mom. It took me a while to call the YWCA. So many things stopped me from leaving my abusive marriage and getting help. Finally, one day I pulled over to the side of Riverside Avenue, right by St. Paul's, and called and made my first counseling appointment. After I hung up the phone, I sobbed on the side of Riverside Ave for a good 10 minutes. It was a mix of relief and fear. But even from that first phone call, the Y made me feel safe and understood. The group counseling has been life-changing. To be surrounded and supported by women who've been through the same thing has given me so much strength. I'm now divorced and in a safe and strong place, and I'm so grateful every day for how much the Y has helped and continues to help me. The YWCA has been an invaluable resource for me during and post-divorce. In trying to rebuild my life after an abusive marriage, the YW helped me to understand how deeply my abuse affected me, emotionally, physically, and mentally. And even more valuable, the women in my support group have inspired me to muster the courage to stand up for myself, to be kind to myself, and find a way to love myself again. I have a clear memory of being at the YWCA Persimmon Ball in April 2017. I joined a table of Greenwich moms. I wore a formal Vera Wang gown. You can still find me in the Scene Society Pages archives. I recall being touched by the presentations by the survivors of domestic violence. Yet, although I was living in my own house of similar horrors at the time, I did not yet make the connection to how close I truly was to these women. 6 months later, the secret I had kept hidden for so long blew up when my husband physically attacked me in a drunken rage after I put my son to bed. That night, my husband was arrested for felony child endangerment and several misdemeanors. After my husband's arrest, I started the divorce process. I was thrown into a confusing, overwhelming, and unsympathetic court system, despite the clear evidence of domestic violence. The most terrifying time for a victim is right after they leave. Multiply this by many factors if children are involved. I was helped tremendously by the advocates of the YWCA, who were the only ones who could really explain the court proceedings to me. I was too scared to testify in court back then, as my husband threatened me regularly. So the YWCA went as my advocate. When my husband had visitation with my son, I often called the hotline with high anxiety and was always met with a calming presence on the other end. My son and I both went to regular counseling sessions at the YWCA, and I attended a support group as well. I was deeply depressed, embarrassed, and isolated. Often the only people I spoke with on some of the dark winter days in Greenwich were those counselors. I was struck by the discreet confidentiality with which everything was handled. When we went to the YWCA, we were called down to the Hidden Domestic Violence Center from a special phone at the desk and were warmly received and brought down. One time, I ran into a bubbly, well-meaning mom in the lobby who was there to bring her daughter to gymnastics. She never realized that I was there for counseling downstairs. Thank you for hearing my story. I hope that the YWCA can secure this important grant to help other victims like me and my son to become survivors. They offer an incredibly important lifeline to a hidden network of women who suffer in silence behind the gates and within country clubs and private schools, as well as in the communities beyond. These services are literally a lifeline in a time of deep trauma and fear, where many of us have no idea how to navigate the systems that are complicated and often unjust. Living in a social setting such as Greenwich means that many victims are living in plain sight and isolated for fear of revealing their traumas. Please know that by helping the YWCA, you may be helping a stranger, and you may be saving a friend, and you may even be saving yourself and your family one day. It's so powerful hearing how the WISE services have helped the women and children of our community. We'd like to talk a bit about how the Pitch Your Peers grant money will be used. All of the money will be used to support the domestic abuse services we talked about today. Again, it's so critical that these services are provided free of charge and the Y never turns anyone away. Here are some examples of costs. Each bed night in an emergency shelter is $200. It's a highly unpredictable line item, and the Y greatly exceeds the budget for it most years, including last year. But again, no one is ever turned away. Any client that has a child is able to enroll that child in any of the WISE programs at no cost, including the WISE preschool. The average tuition at preschool is $20,000 per year, and typically there are 2 to 3 children of domestic abuse clients enrolled in preschool. With increasing needs in light of the coronavirus, and also as a result of the community outreach, the Y is in great need of additional staffing. The average starting base salary without benefits for a licensed counselor is $50,000 per year. Thank you so much for watching our pitch. Our hearts are filled with gratitude for the work that the YWCA does in our community. We hope that we've been able to convey how critical these services are. Thank you.
So that's it. That's all 4 pitches. I want to thank our board members, Dara Johnson, Nancy Carr, Vicki DeFelitti, and Cheryl Floyd for introducing our teams. I want to thank you all for watching with us tonight. I also want to thank Kendra Farn and P. Garyn Productions for putting all of this together in a way that was seamless, easy to metabolize, and of course will be available for you to view in the coming days during our discovery period. If I could just close with an ask that next year when we ask you to say yes to PIPE again, we hope you'll say yes and that you'll say yes quickly. Get that check in the mail. We're doing really good work, as I know that we all just saw. So we hope you'll stay with us for the years to come while we continue to enhance the community in which we all live with our very own ideas and pitches. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.